rather than report the accurate news or any victories for the American people coming out of the Trump administration. So, yeah, 3 people actually were, I don't want to say whacked, but they were removed. And from the reaction from the Trump administration, I guess they don't want lawsuits or anything like that, but is it far enough for CNN to be able to do this? To ask them to step down for producers? I think it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think CNN is going to stop this or have their commentators that are on the air that sit there repetitively insult Donald Trump and the president. Do you think they did any of that during the tenure of Barack Hussein Obama? None. Zero. Zilch. None. But because it's a Republican, and you don't see the bias in that? Huge bias. It's horrible. And just this will be very painful for you, folks, but I'm suggesting you to do this just so you can kind of get a little taste. Get your whistle wet, if you will. Tune into CNN. And if you don't have cable, you can go to YouTube and you can type in something like CNN live stream. You can do it with other networks too. And as painful as it's going to be, sit through some of the shows and listen to the spin and listen to the way, yes, the spin, listen to how they talk about Donald Trump and the things that he's doing. Then watch Fox News Channel. Watch it, an hour of CNN, an hour of Fox. Take notes when you're doing it. Take inventory. And you'll see how amazingly biased it is. Because they have an agenda. And it's the agenda that is really across the board. So when Donald Trump highlights the other networks besides CNN, not just single them out exclusively, but it's the other networks that do this, that go out of their way to sit there and disparage the office of the president. Because it wasn't their guy, and they don't have these values. It's not their ideals. They have progressive ideas of social engineering and changing the fabric of the family, removing religion from the public square. This is what the networks do. And what they do is they get into the minds of young people early, and they do it in the classroom where you have liberal curriculum. And it retards the brains of folks. They come out, and some people are able to overcome it. But there's plenty of people that come out with a liberal mindset that takes them down the road of progressivism, that leads to socialism and so many other bad things that, have a Bernie Sanders. You think healthcare is a disaster now. Can you imagine if Bernie was in? Everybody gets everything for free. Everybody's on the same page. No, they're not. They're not. Not everybody is on the same page, folks. If you believe that, then I got a nice piece of real estate for you in Fallujah right now for you. You want to believe that? Beautiful. But the real stories, the big stories, the stories that really need to take front and center are not the stories that the American people need to hear. And it would be nice if they would be able to prioritize what the big stories are, what the agenda is, and be able to just report it that way so Americans can really, truly understand the process of what goes on a daily basis. And do it in a way that's no spin and still ask the tough questions, the hard questions when they need to be asked, but they do it in a way that is non-antagonistic. I want the snarl in their voice, or I'm trying to get you every single time. And like I say, this Russia story has got to be absolutely exhausting. And the exhausting rate for Americans in general to hear this, and for those that maybe have hoped and maybe put their chips down on this story thinking that's what's going to take down Donald Trump, well, finding out that the stuff was garbage and was made up. It was bull. You know what? Sorry. It'll be interesting to find out because there's always going to be another card that's going to be played. And it's not Russia right now. It's Granny going over the cliff. It's healthcare and how you are not going to be with it. You're not going to be with insurance. And this is going to be much more worse than Obamacare. So that'll be the new narrative because they need a new narrative. They need a new one. Let's see if Chuck Schumer can actually hold true to coming up with some better plan and getting new leadership into the DNC. It would be really nice to hear something positive. And like I said, listen up, Democrats. Listen up. This is a news alert. Just imagine if you actually decided that you wanted to hook up with the Republicans. Democrats are hooking up with Republicans on health care to get a bill passed that will work for all Americans. That's your report tonight on NBC Nightly News. I mean, it would be beautiful. I mean, it could be changed up. It could be switched up. Even Bill Clinton, smart enough to work with Republicans. It was his second term, but he got things done. And if they're going to redeem themselves in any real meaningful way, Democrats need to suggest items or bring their best people to the forefront right now and really help this thing along if they really care about re-election, any of them, to stop making things up in this false news. So am I a proponent of Twitter and getting the real news out? Absolutely. Alternative media? Absolutely 100%. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. So I just say, Mr. President, keep on tweeting. It's all right. You make me want to get a tweet account for the People. North Korea, they're talking about changing the narrative and things like that and forget about what they're doing over there. But North Korea's state media yesterday published a report. Came out late yesterday, earlier today, our time, basically reporting and describing President Trump's America First policy akin to Nazism in the 21st century. I'm not even kidding. Talking about the narrative change here. The Korean Central News Agency is saying that Trump's policy is the American version of Nazism for surpassing the fascism in the last century in its ferocious, brutal, and chauvinistic nature. And the article goes on to call the sanctions it faces an unethical and unhumane act for exceeding the degree of Hitler's blockade of Leningrad, and said that Trump's decision to pull out of the 2015 Paris Agreement, I love how they lump this together, a violation that surpasses the horror of Nazi concentration camps, because they pulled out of the Paris Accord? Why do you think that we actually have some of the most strictest environmental protection agency on the planet that gave other nations ideas on how to actually control things and implement these things around the world? It was America in the first place that gave it to them. This is this odd. It gets more insane. This is North Korea trying to lecture us. And then Trump, I don't know where they're taking their talking points. Is it from the left media? But they're putting this stuff out here to try to give them other news instead of having Otto Warmbier, because they're not taking responsibility. Basically, their comment recently was that they returned Otto, in their opinion, in sound health. Forget about that he was in a coma for a year. Sound health. 1 year in a coma. If he was in a coma for like a month, you would think maybe they would just return him then, but they kept him a whole year in a coma, and it didn't, and from botulism, as they put it. And in fact, if it was then what in the world harm would it have been to return Otto to his parents? Something more sinister obviously happened. What good is it to hold a prisoner in a hospital for a whole year with that expenditure and all the resources that would be necessary to keep him alive? in whatever way or methods that they used, but whatever methods that they used to keep them alive certainly weren't shared with doctors on how they were able to keep them alive that long. God knows. But I just sense this is gonna be a mess before it's long. These people are just crazier than. You can't give any credit. I have no idea. People ask all the time, is Trump going to go over there? Several months ago, before things became just more escalated in the region, whether or not those two meet and have discussions over, I have no idea. I mean, to me, in a very all sensible practicality, if you could sit down and have some kind of meaningful discussion to try to de-escalate the tensions between the North and them, because it's just at an all-time, and these people's desire to achieve an ICBM with a nuke on it, and have said, and they show graphic pictures over there all the time in videos showing the West Coast blowing up, showing Japan blowing up, showing the South Korea blowing up under their hand. I mean, this is just dangerous stuff, and they're doing it. There's one thing about talking about it, but doing it, they're launching these missiles all the time. I think this is scary. I just sense that they're going to do something really stupid, and we're just going to have to react. But this is a chess game for sure. In Syria, this is news today from the Pentagon, and basically from satellite photos and from intelligence, they're seeing movement there in Syria at an air base, at an aircraft hangar where previous chemical attacks on civilians are believed to have been originated. Multiple defense officials said today, hours after the White House issued its new warning to President Bashar Assad. They're showing a picture of this article that came across from the Associated Press, and it'll just break your heart. It's a man carrying his child into a hospital following a chemical attack in Syria in April. This guy is a monster. I believe that Donald Trump's going to launch some more Tomahawks, and I think triple the order. Because Russia and Iran, they're allowing this guy to get away with it, and it looks like they're going to try to launch some more, kill some more people. And I think we need to tomahawk the crap out of this guy and get this guy out of power once and for all. Because if we're going to do something, we're going to have to do it, and we're going to have to do it hard. I mean, it is true. They took as many people as they possibly could after we tomahawked that. They had the cement trucks. They had the construction people out there so fast to repair that base, it wasn't even funny. Just, to say that they did it, they could, and you didn't hurt us. So they could recirculate pictures to say the Tomahawks didn't do any damage, even though they actually did. But they rebuilt it since. And so we're watching this very closely. This is a big deal here, and this is on all the major wires right now. And according to my sources and to the wire services all over the country, it looks like, and we have a lot of firepower at this moment right now that could be hit. It's not immediately clear what specific actions at the base prompted the White House, but Captain Jeff Davis said he's not clear. But these pictures have become more compelling, is what he's saying, and what they're saying in the last 24 hours. And American officials at the U.S.-led coalition headquarters in Baghdad were telling news agencies that they stood firmly behind the White House message, which warned the Syrian government against deploying chemical weapons again. So the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier strike group is operating in the Mediterranean Sea, striking ISIS positions in Syria, along with the carrier's dozens of strike aircraft. There are numerous guided missile destroyers capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles in a strike that would be similar to the one launched on Syria from warships in early April. And last week, the U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet, launched from the USS George H.W. Bush, shot down a Syrian warplane. Remember that?